Basically, look in the mirror, and if you're not Cruella de Vil, end this relationship.
Dear Shandy. Welcome back to Dear Shandy, listeners. Andy.
Yes.
Where are we in our vast apartment?
We're in the studio 6A.
Yes.
Which is the Q&A studio.
Yes, it's the living room themed studio where we answer your questions. Yes. And let's get right to it.
Let's do it.
This question is from Extremely Single.
Is that the highest level of single you can be?
I guess. Dear Shandy, I'm 29 and live in the South, so I guess culturally speaking, I get treated more like New Yorkers in their late 30s. I don't have a lot of peers who are single and am usually the 3rd or 11th wheel. It has never been a problem the last few years as I love my couple friends dearly and don't mind being the single one. But they're starting to have kids now and those friendships are obviously changing. Ultimately, I also want kids, but I've always felt like I'd be content to do it alone if I hadn't found the right person when the time in my life came where I was ready for them. Dating-wise, I had a few long-term relationships in a row starting as a teenager and lasting to 24. I've been single the past 5 years other than one 6-month-long stint a couple of years ago where I did fall in love with someone who ended up being jealous and controlling, and that ended very painfully. I'm a flirtatious person, I've been told. I'd probably just call myself affectionate, but whatever. And have struggled with jealous partners a bit because of it. But I dated a lot in my mid-20s and eventually just realized I like myself, flirtatiousness and all, and stopped trying to change for people I date. Now I finished my PhD and am making good money and am content on my own for the most part. This year, when I've lost people or moved states, I've definitely missed having a partner to share the burden, especially as friends start to have their own lives and can't really be there for me to lean on in the same way they could when we were younger. I love how she touches on that because those friendships do change.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. However, getting into a relationship again feels daunting. I don't see a lot of relationships I'd aspire to. Yours is one, so thank you for that.
Nice.
That's nice. And the ones I would still feel like they require so much compromise. The pandemic has put this into perspective even more. Every couple has one person that wants to be safer with COVID and one who doesn't, and they always have to meet in the middle. Intellectually, I know how important compromise is, but I can't help but feeling put off by this. I can't even imagine compromising on COVID stuff, and I know kids will offer many more issues for me to hate compromising on. I see so many families where the husband is really the extra child and gets applause for changing one diaper for every 10 the wife does, and frankly, it annoys the shit out of me. I know this is now all over the place, and that could be an entirely separate email itself, so I apologize. But basically, as I get older and more confident in my own values, it's feeling less and less possible that someone out there agrees with me on all of them. The idea of marriage seems so much further away and less appealing than it did 5 years ago. It's interesting. Despite tons of self-growth and awareness that the happiest I've been has been during the happy times of the relationships I've had. Did you ever feel like this? Should I do something to combat it? Do I need to flex my compromise muscles again? Obviously, I do not know everything, so my life decisions should, in theory, be improved by another voice. But I've never dated someone that I actually felt that would be the case with. I've also never dated anyone above 33, so Andy has taught me that may be part of the issue. Do you have tips for balancing self-confidence and happiness being single without getting too set in your ways? I'm going to be honest, she seems very set in her ways when I read this email.
Yeah.
Do you agree with me?
Can you repeat that last bit?
Do you have tips for balancing self-confidence and happiness being single without getting too set in your ways? Am I just too jaded at this point? Keep in mind, I know 29 is young and I'm aware that this is probably ridiculous, so feel free to poke fun. Maybe it's also easier when you love someone and I just don't remember what that feels like. All I know is every time my friends fill me in on a disagreement with a spouse, I think to myself, I don't have it in me anymore. And every time I go on a date, I immediately see why this will never go anywhere. What say you? I gotta say, I'm glad she used the word jaded because when I read this email, I get jaded. I get major jaded vibes from this email. I think that you can be really content being single, but there's a difference between being content and almost having an unfounded bitterness towards compromises that aren't even being asked of you yet. And I also think it's important to remember that when you're happily married or engaged, or non-single friends bitch and moan about their spouses, they know who their audience is when they're doing that.
True.
Like, I'm not going to talk about how happy I am with you with my single girlfriends.
True. Yeah, I 100% agree.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, I'd like to start out by saying that there's nothing wrong with committing to being single.
And, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. There's no law that says you need to be in a relationship.
Yeah. And both my parents have friends that are like in their 60s, 70s who are single, and that's how it's always been. And they're very content.
And some of them are extremely happy.
Yes.
So,
and you have friends too?
Yeah. I have friends who were, my friends are a mess, but some of them are, well into their 40s and even 50s and single, and some of them are quite content.
Yes.
Although things do get complicated. So, aside from late, middle life complications, they're content for the most part.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with being single, especially if you feel happy being with yourself. If you're like, she's got her PhD, sounds like her life is fairly full. She seems to like herself, even though she sounds a little jaded.
What I find interesting is that even when she says she would like to have someone, the way she words it is, I've missed having a partner to share the burden.
Yeah.
Like, it's not to share these experiences with or share. There's something even, it feels like work, even that. It's like, then I would have less work, less on my shoulders.
It doesn't feel like a very romantic vision of relationships. I think she might be struggling not so much with her singleness, but with the concept of being in a relationship. I don't know if she really is on the side of relationship right now. And I think that's okay if the motivations are she's really happy being by herself. She knows she's really difficult and she sort of cannot compromise on certain elements of her life. And she has a full life. And she wants to do her own thing.
Yeah.
That's totally fine.
Yes.
Bravo. But if the motivation is because she's just like, oh, I'm so sick of it all. Like, oh, it's not going to work. Oh, it looks all crappy. Like, I don't want to do this. That's not a really strong indicator that she's going in the right direction.
No. And I also wonder, there is quite a bit of talk around her she's the third or 11th wheel, and how her friends, she can't rely on her friends the way she has in the past because they are now making babies and their lives are moving forward on that like traditional trajectory. So I wonder if she wasn't faced with that, if she would still be thinking about potentially having a partner to share that burden.
Sure. Or
if she would be like, I'm good for another decade of being single, like I don't care, Just so you know, the title of the email, so the Dear Shandy question is, should you try to stay flexible as you age?
Well, everyone gets more jaded. The more experience you have, and the more experiences you have that don't work out perfectly, particularly because until you get married, and even then you're not sure, but until you get married, they all didn't work out. Right?
Absolutely.
So
I was at my most jaded before I met you.
Oh, and I was like 10 times more jaded than you. So my experience, and I've had a long experience, so it's worth telling, is that my first few relationships were like, not my first few, my first couple were like, oh, wow, this is new and exciting and cool. And I'm like an adult and I'm having a relationship and this is so exciting. And then you get like, okay, you get over that honeymoon period of relationships and you're like, okay, next relationship. All right, this is fine this way. This isn't great this way. Next relationship. And the more and more you get into that middle phase, the more and more you can fall into this kind of like, oh God, this is really becoming tiresome.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to go through the process of breaking up, going out there, dating, finding that person again, finding out that that person's not perfect, then ending that one. And then like, it becomes harder and harder. But she said something that's important. She said she's been the happiest in her life in relationships. She did say that, correct?
The idea of marriage seems much further away / less appealing than it did 5 years ago. That really stands out to me. And it really lines up with what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Like, I actually think, I agree. When I met my first major boyfriend at age 20, I was like, I'm going to marry this guy.
Of course. I was sure I was going to marry my first girlfriend, which is hilarious now.
Yeah. And then when you start getting around 27, 28... 29, you're more like, okay. Like,
it's like anything, yeah.
Yeah,
you're just like,
a little
next,
more wary.
Next. Yeah, you're done.
But then she says, despite tons of self-growth and the awareness that the happiest I've been has been during the happy times of the relationships I've had.
There you go.
Good memory.
Yeah, I was listening. I'm a man who listens. Very valuable. Yeah, good trait. So as I was saying, if that's the case, she has to remember that and sort of overcome the jadedness, the fatigue, the lack of willingness to compromise, and say, you know what? If I know and can say in my email to a podcast that the happiest moments of my life were the happy times in relationships, I should keep a very open mind to pursuing that again, a better one than my last one, or a better one than the best one I've had so far. And maybe try a little better to compromise.
Yeah, you definitely have, I think, a gentler take on this than I do. And I totally agree with you that if she wants to be single and that's something she knows she wants, which is totally acceptable, and Dear Shandy supports that. If you want to be single, then be single. Like, you can feel a lot of pressure when a lot of your friends are getting married and making babies. You can start to wonder if that's what you should also be doing. So I really like how she, if anything, is overthinking this and is like, well, these are all the reasons why I shouldn't do that. But what I get from this email, even more than jadedness, is almost like a bitterness, because I gather that she has gone on dates here and there, and she has spent a lot of time on herself, but because nothing has really worked out the way she wants, and she recognizes that compromise will be necessary. 5 years is a long time to be single, and is also a long time to achieve personal success. She got her PhD, she's making her own money, and she has her social life, and she's got her shit together. So it can start to feel like you're looking for someone to fit into a puzzle piece that exists. As unromantic as it sounds, that simply does not exist. You know, sacrifices and compromises are made no matter what. When I met you, I did not live here. Mm-hmm. I lived here to be with you. And I left, granted, I wanted to leave Germany anyway, but if I hadn't met you, I might have still be in Europe today. I think it's important for people to realize that the odds of you meeting someone who happens to just line up with all the things you're looking for and your lifestyle, it's slim. Mm-hmm. Do I sound harsh right now?
No, it's true. I mean, on one hand, I feel like, it sounds like she does have some potential for a happy single life. But on the other hand, which I feel is a little heavier in the scales, she is writing into a podcast about this.
Yes.
Therefore, that is by itself proof of the struggle. And she is upset about sort of being ostracized as a single friend amongst her group of friends, and it's affecting her social life, obviously. And she is aware of the fact that she was happiest in her life during the happiest times of relationships. And she is aware of the fact that has an inability or a lack of willingness to compromise.
Yes.
And she does know that she is jaded. So all those things are, to me, weighing much heavier than her seemingly good potential for a single life. So I do think that she has to really start thinking about the fact that, yes, everyone does get a little jaded around this age after they've been through the ringer.
And she's in the South, where she said she gets treated probably the way New Yorkers in their late 30s do.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I would say probably even older, honestly.
And that's what I was saying. She's aware of the fact that her social situation is becoming uncomfortable for her.
Yeah.
Whether, she can overcome that or not is irrelevant. She's not happy about that. So I think that she has to really loosen up on her jadedness, keep a much more open mind, and be much more willing to compromise, not on major things, but just on some little things, or even, just take her like the flirtiness, for example.
Yeah.
If she meets a guy who's perfect, in every way, except he's not into the fact that she's walking around the bar flirting with a bunch of guys. Maybe take it down a notch.
Yeah, the thing about the flirtiness, and she says, I've realized I just like myself, flirtatiousness and all. I've stopped trying to change for people I date. To me, that's, and this is coming from a really non-flirty person, so it's hard for me to fully grasp this. But I have lots of girlfriends who are flirty. It's not like the guy would want you to change the way you dress or the way you, like, traits about yourself. It's not always necessary to be so affectionate, as she puts it, with other men when you are with a boyfriend.
Sure.
And we're pretty open-minded about jealousy. Like, I think jealousy is just...
But even if a guy's not insecure, the average guy is always not going to be thrilled if his girlfriend or wife is flirting with a bunch of guys all the time.
Yeah, I'm interested if this is a recurring thing. She says, I've struggled with jealous partners. So it sounds like this has been sort of a recurring thing. I'm torn because I don't think she should have to change the side of herself, but at the same time, you don't need to flirt with the opposite sex in front of your partner.
You don't.
You can, and I know that's just some people's way of being, but I agree, like, just to take it down a notch. It's not that much off your back, and ultimately you should value your partner's feelings enough. And I know this might sound like we're teetering into being like hypocritical, because sometimes we'll be like, that person's way too insecure. But like, this guy's not going through her phone while she's sleeping at night, reading texts between her and her exes who she's friends with.
Right.
She has heard multiple times throughout her 20s that she's flirtatious.
Right.
I think there is such a thing as being too flirty when you're in a relationship.
Absolutely.
Personally.
I mean, I default often, I can admit it, to being flirtatious. Like, I just can't help it sometimes, but I've become aware of it, and I just catch myself when I'm doing it, and I'm like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, you're a way flirtier person than I am.
Yeah.
And I can't really... you're so conscious when I'm with you of just... I know you put a lid on it. I know how much further you could go, but you don't, because sometimes I'm like, I don't even mind. Like, I'm not a jealous person, but there are times when it's like, really? Like, was that really necessary? I'm right here.
And it's not a lot of, it doesn't cost me a lot to take my flirting down when I'm with
and like,
you.
where is your flirting even going to take you?
No,
like,
I know. It's pointless. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, here's my wife. So
I could have had sex with that girl.
Yeah. It's just not necessary. So we always talk about battles being, which battles are worth picking and which ones are not.
Yeah.
To me, this is not a battle worth picking. Do you need to be so flirtatious? Is that a side of yourself that you really value so much? Is that sounding judgy?
I agree. You're not single. If you're in a relationship, you're not single. You shouldn't be flirting constantly. You can be a little flirty in your way, but you just take it down a notch.
Yeah.
If every guy you're dating is having an issue with it, then the issue is probably with you, assuming you're not always attracted to guys who are naturally jealous, which is probably less likely.
I'll say this. I know one girlfriend who is very flirty, and her partner is very jealous.
There you go.
And it's funny how they kind of find each other. I can't tell whether the relationship feeds off it or not, but nonetheless, this is just sort of a constant source of conflict in their relationship, in my eyes, a little needlessly, because it's just not necessary to, again, if you're in a relationship, especially when your partner's right there, take it down a notch, like you said. There was one thing she said that stood out to me possibly more than anything else. Maybe it's also easier when you love someone and I just don't remember what that feels like. She sounds very self-aware, and I completely agree with that sentence. I think she doesn't know what it feels like to want to compromise with someone because you value them and their companionship that much.
It's very possible she hasn't really truly been in love yet.
I don't think she remembers what it feels like to love someone enough to want to compromise for them, or to see that as a natural choice that you would make. And here she says, she's annoyed that the husband gets applause for changing one diaper for every 10 the wife does. That sounds to me like something the wife, bitches and moans about her husband to her single friend. She's not going to talk to her single friend about how blissfully in love she is with her husband or how thrilled they are to be new parents. Of course
not, yeah.
And the other thing is, not every relationship is like that. I know couples where they completely split the parental duties and they each change 5 diapers out of the 10. So that's what that relationship looks like. And you can be annoyed that the man gets applauded for that, but then you can also not seek out a man that would be like that.
Right.
That is something you don't need to compromise on. Meanwhile, the whole flirting thing, is that really the battle you need to pick if your partner is otherwise great in every way and loves you, but then gets a little like uncomfortable when you flirt with him around? I
think what we're trying to say is you should keep pushing through.
Yes.
Keep trying to find what I believe she hasn't found yet, which is true love. And when she does find it, maybe all these compromises will become a lot easier.
Extremely single. You sound extremely jaded. You said, am I just too jaded at this point? Yes. Mm-hmm. You sound very jaded to me. It sounds like you haven't really truly found love. And maybe that's not what you necessarily need or want, which is totally cool too.
Yes. I just feel like the evidence leans towards her actually probably being happy if she finds something good.
Yeah.
And I think that when she does find that, she's going to realize that it doesn't even feel like compromise.
That's the thing. Like, there are so many little compromises we do for each other. I
don't think it's compromise anymore when you find someone who's perfect for you. I think it's like me saying that when I go to buy groceries, paying for them is a compromise because I'd like to just get them for free. Right?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about, we compromise in many little ways throughout our lives. Do we not compromise in our friendships somewhat? Do you pick every battle when it comes to your friendships?
Right. Of course not. Otherwise, you'd have no friends and you'd never have a significant other.
I really do feel that levels of compromise are proportionate to what you get out of the relationship. Yeah. So you, with having a partner who you live with and have a life with, will obviously take more compromise than a friend you see every couple of months. But you're also going to get so much more out of that partnership to the point where the compromise feels like a drop in the bucket versus what you're getting out of it.
Right.
Anyway.
I agree.
Extremely single. Lighten up a bit about it, and I would say be a little more optimistic. And I say that because it's wafting towards me in this email, like a sort of a bitterness and a sort of negativity about men and about relationships and about partnerships that she doesn't respect or admire.
Yeah.
Everyone is different, and one person's relationship isn't for you, but that doesn't make it less valid because it's not what you value or admire in a relationship.
And also just one final note, despite the fact that she is in the South, so there's an adjustment ratio there. Mm-hmm. She's not old enough to be bitter yet.
No.
Not even close.
No.
So enjoy your very end of the late 20s as much as you can.
Yeah.
And the beginning of the 30s is still extremely young in the world of relationships in modern day.
Yeah. And even if you are going to compare 29 in the South to late 30s in New York, you still got time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have girlfriends much older than that who
yeah.
are single and looking. That's the important part.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So extremely single, we think you're too jaded.
Yeah.
Too jaded.
Yeah, take it down a notch keep plugging away. You'll find what you're looking for.
Yeah. It's best to go in with low expectations and just sort of an open mind and an easygoing attitude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't take yourself or your expectations for yourself and your life too seriously.
Well said.
All right, moving on. Was that deep enough for you?
Yeah, that was good. It's a little general, but that was good.
General.
Broad.
I've got to say, a lot of the emails have been reverting back to broadness. Broad. Yes. Just FYI, what happens is we get we'll get a really long email, and then at the end it's sort of like pigeonholed into this quick question, but it's like, I saw what you did there. It was not a specific question.
No.
Yeah.
No trickery here, please.
Yeah, no trickery. We'll go, this one is nice and specific. This question is from Josie. Dear Shandy, I am 26 and in grad school. I have had a crush on this 28-year-old guy in my class since first year. And I say crush because I don't know him very well. We've had very small conversations, not really going anywhere, which I attribute to my own shyness, but suspect he may be shy as well, because I've had a gut feeling in the past he may be into me. Recently, he's had a serious medical condition which he had to take time off for. A big deal for everyone in my class. I sent him a heartfelt email expressing my sympathy and dropped off something I knitted for him at his house. That's sweet.
Wow, it's old school.
Yes. Yeah. Hand knitted. Hand knitted? Mm-hmm. What are those things called?
A sewing machine?
Never mind. Oh. Asking the wrong person.
A loom.
No, it's those sticks.
Oh, pins.
Oh my God, you got it.
Yeah, I know about sewing.
It's not sewing.
I know about knitting.
We spoke for a while, but I left prematurely out of nerves. I don't know if anything more meaningful would have been said. Now he has recovered, and I'm faced wondering if I should just leave it at what it was or text him to see how he is doing. Recently, I saw him on Bumble and panicked and deactivated the app.
Good God.
She sounds very shy.
Very.
She knows that he's had a fling with another girl in their class, and he briefly dated a girl. Okay, this part is bold. My friends have said he's not into me because he hasn't reached out himself. I am wondering if you think this is true. If a guy is really interested, will he reach out? And I am also wondering if I should invest more time on dating apps and trying to meet someone new versus ruminating over a crush. If I text him, should I just keep it casual? I like him because of his general warmth, friendliness to me, which I have seen him express to others. He has an element of depth and sensitivity I do not often see in guys. I also want to mention I am aware of how immature this whole situation is. I have struggled with shyness all my life, told myself I would never crush on someone again, but insecurity came back when I entered grad school. I would appreciate your honest advice. Also, what a sweet email. Mm-hmm. It's decidedly different from extremely single. Yeah.
The opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a tough one.
What's the man's perspective on this?
The man's perspective needs more evidence. It's so hard with that scant amount of information to know if this guy's into her or not. That's what I'm focusing on, because God forbid, if you're shy, what'd you say?
That's what you can contribute here. And so why, I don't understand why you can't tell us what's up.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Sorry, I'm not Nostradamus. But I feel that if you're really shy, that shyness stems from a fear of rejection to some degree. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I don't want to give her the obvious advice of being like, hey, you into me or what? You want to go like hang out or you want to, chill? Like, obviously that's not something she should do. But I don't have enough forensic evidence of the interaction between the two of them to know if he's into her. If I saw them speaking for 5 minutes, I would know 100% if this is something she should drop.
She should speak with him and have a friend secretly video, and then they can send it in.
It's interesting you say that, because I was actually going to suggest that. I was going to say to her, if she has a guy friend who is like willing to do this and willing to hurt her feelings, she should be like, watch me interact with him. Then ask that guy friend, what do you think? Does he like me? Because without her giving specifics about their interaction, I don't know for sure. What I will say is this. Unless he's very shy as well, he's had many...
Which, by the way, she says.
Okay.
She says, I think he may be shy as well.
That throws a little wrinkle into it.
Because I've had a gut feeling in the past he may be into me.
Okay.
But see, even that... Guys, we need more details.
Yeah.
Why, Josie, did you think he was into you in the past? And I want to know how he reacted to being gifted the knitting thing.
I feel like...
Like, did he call her or did she call him? They spoke on the phone, but who called who?
There might be like a battle of shyness going on here that's at a stalemate. Like, he's had so many opportunities to ask her out or pursue this further, especially when she got him a knitted whatever it is.
My gut feeling reading this, but I'm not the man in the room, is that he does not reciprocate her feelings.
I would lean towards that. The only reason that I'm not fully going to the camp of drop it, he's not into you, is because she said that he's shy, and she said that she's painfully shy to the point where maybe she's kiboshing opportunities, but she's not showing enough interest.
I think it's possible he does not even know that would be like a possibility.
Right. Oftentimes in my experience, and I learned this later in life, is like I used to mistake shy girls for girls who weren't interested. Mm-hmm. And I finally figured out, I was like, oh no, there's the difference between shy and disinterested and disinterested and shy and interested.
Yeah.
And I think that oftentimes girls who aren't effusive and like obvious with their overtures, a lot of guys, particularly this guy who she said is shy, might not receive it and might worry that they're going to get rejected if they pursue it, just the way she's worried she's going to get rejected.
Yeah.
So I think that my guess, if I had to put my money on it, is he's not that into it. But
just based on the actions themselves and not the personalities behind them.
Yes. Based on the actions, I would say for sure he's not into it.
Yeah.
But based on the personalities, it muddies the waters a little bit. And that's why I think, and you read my mind on this one, I think she should find a third-party male to observe their interaction. And I know this sounds absurd, but it's or else I'm gonna have to fly out there and deal with it. To observe their interaction, and she get an honest opinion. Like, do you think this guy likes me? You're a guy, you date girls, like, you know.
Yeah.
Do you think this guy likes me? Because otherwise, this is gonna go on forever, this stalemate.
I personally think if she's at the point where she wants to sweep it under the rug and not ruminate over a crush and just sort of move on with her life, what kills me is the not knowing. And I know this is easier said than done because when it comes to romantic relationships, I'm not super shy. So it's easy for me to be like, oh, she should just ask him. But she's given the knitted item. They spoke on the phone.
The knitted item was given. It's a big deal.
Yes, it is a big deal.
Huge. Are you kidding? If I gave any girl in the world a knitted item, I would expect her to date me. Like how dare you not date me?
Have you ever received a gift of that level from a woman?
I have. Oh, you're a woman who I am not dating?
Yeah, someone in this situation, like a female friend gives you something like this. Like, to me, I don't see how he could receive a knitted item that she made.
Well, and
then not be like, this girl likes me.
Well, there's two types of women who could give me a knitted item in this situation. There's a woman who I knew that I was friends with, where I'd just be like, oh, you're such a good friend. Thank you. That's awesome. But there wouldn't be any like sexual nature to the exchange.
Okay.
Or there's a girl that I don't think I'm like not in the friend zone or the romance zone. I'm not sure. It's just kind of an acquaintance who I have little, interactions with here and there. Gives me a knitted item. I'm like, this girl, she wants something more than,
and let's say
knitting.
Well, and what's your reaction to that? Like, if you liked her, I imagine that's what
I would step on that. I would jump on that within.
He's unwell though. He's unwell.
Okay, but he became well. How unwell? How long was he unwell after the knitted item was given?
Yeah, that's.
I would jump on it. I don't care if I was on my deathbed. I'd be like, if I was interested in the girl and she gave me a knitted item, I'd be like, we have to date at some point. So, this is my conclusion. She has two choices. One is stop. Just move on. He's not interested.
I don't like that idea.
That's not what I'm suggesting. This is what I'm suggesting. And she can only do this if she feels she can take the rejection. Because as I said, a lot of shy people are shy because they are fearful of rejection. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to traumatize her, but she has only one.
So I don't want to traumatize her.
No, I don't want to cause her undue emotional duress. But she has had many interactions with him. She gave him the knitted item and nothing has come of it. So if she wants to get closure and know for sure, she should, I don't know, what's something she's doing. She's like, I'm going to this thing, or there's this something real casual, low key, and just be like, hey, you know what? Do you want to come to this thing with me? I think it would be fun. Done. If he's like, or if he goes with her and it's like there's no vibe,
yeah,
just move on. You're good. It's not your thing. It's not happening.
Yeah. I do feel like shyness, it's not like someone who's shy can then suddenly not be shy anymore. I get that. But I do think that it can be, if not overcome, it can be improved. So it's like a muscle you need to flex. Like in this case, I think that she just wants to know. She needs to know. She's writing it into a podcast. She wants to know. This is a perfect opportunity. I'm not against getting on the apps and distracting yourself so that you don't put all your eggs in this basket. Of course. She
should spread herself around. She shouldn't just focus everything on this guy.
While I get the vibe that he would have made a move because of the knitted item.
He should have by now.
Yes. And he also has dated other people. It's not like he's not dating anyone.
Yeah, it's very. I think it's unlikely that he's really into her, but
nonetheless, we think she should still.
I ordinarily would just put the hammer down on this one,
yeah.
But I'm saying because of both of their personalities, particularly hers, I think if she wants to cleanse her soul and have closure on this one, just ask him for a real low-key get-together thing. She will know within 30 seconds probably whether he's interested in her or not.
And steel yourself.
Yeah, and just be prepared for the worst.
Steel yourself for what rejection can feel like, and it's okay.
Yeah.
If you remember that it happens to
everybody,
and you'll survive this.
It's important that she does this. I think it's a good growing experience.
I think it's a great growing experience.
And you know what I always in my mind harp back on, well, not now, because I'm happily married, but there were many times where I wasn't happily married in my life. The greatest songwriters in history, what are the songs they write about? They don't write about, having, water skiing or like, or
having their
having a really good meal.
Requited.
Yeah, they either write about a relationship they're into or a relationship they got dumped. Like
most of the time it's the heartbreak.
They write about heartbreak. They write about getting dumped.
Yeah.
They write about being rejected. And these are not
feeling invisible.
Feeling invisible, feeling like a girl who chooses some other guy over them.
Yeah.
And we're talking about like major rock stars, like people who probably can get anyone on earth. Everyone gets rejected. Bob Dylan got rejected more times than I can count. There's a whole goddamn album, which is an amazing album, by the way. Blood on the Tracks. You should really listen to it. Amazing. If you're going through
Josie,
a breakup, it saved me.
If you need a soundtrack in case this doesn't work out.
Saved me, yes. Tell her. Saved me from many breakups. But it happens to the best of us. Go in there, Josie. Ask him for a very real easy get together and you'll know the answer.
The thing is, whether or not it's what she wants to hear, she will grow from it.
Yeah, I agree.
Whether even if it works out, then you have a relationship. And if it doesn't work out, it hurts, yes. But A, you have your answer. And B, you have your closure and you can move on.
Yeah.
And C, you've developed that slightly thicker skin that can help you a great deal in dating, honestly.
Yeah.
Confidence comes from having a thicker skin. Let's be honest.
Course,
that's what it is.
You need a base to grow off of.
Yes.
You can't always be jelly.
Yeah. All right. Good luck, Josie. All right. This next question is from Anonymous. Dear Shandy, I'm a lady in my late 30s, very successful, financially secure, and decently attractive. I've always... What?
It would just be I was just thinking of like a dating profile where you're like decently attractive.
I've always been in unhealthy relationships, either because the demands of my profession due to constant travel and also because I dated really poor quality men that really weren't worthy of my time. About 2 years ago, I made the choice to stop this pattern and choose wisely from now on. My job no longer requires the travel it used to, so I was ready to dedicate time to a real and healthy long-term relationship. This brings up my current relationship. We have been dating for about 2 years. He's in his early 40s, decently attractive. His job brings high stress and low financial gain, and he doesn't have a lot of drive when it comes to changing his career. Just a lot of talk about changing career paths, but no action. He lives with his parents due to a life-changing event leading to financial strain for the past 2 years. He has been living with his parents since we met. My heart went out to him when I initially heard his reasons, but now it appears he is very comfortable with this living arrangement. I thought you would like this one.
Three square a day, laundry. Okay.
I mean, it sounds nice.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Our relationship is quite good. He treats me better than anyone else has, but that doesn't say much considering my past tumultuous relationships. He will get me gifts just because and can be supportive and sensitive. In light of recent events, we have a lot of opposing political views.
Oh dear.
That has led to many unresolved and heated arguments and debates to the point where I now avoid these topics when around him.
Oh dear.
We only see each other once weekly due to the hours of his job and his leisure activities.
Oh dear. This is not getting good. It's getting worse.
2 years in, he has yet to say I love you.
Oh, this keeps getting worse.
But prior... I'm not laughing at the email. I'm laughing at your reaction. But 2 years in, he has yet to say I love you. But prior to us dating, he dealt with a lot of infidelity and not sure if he has a difficulty with trust now.
Okay.
That's, you know what I mean, or what she means.
I know what she means.
When I mentioned to him about my age and desire for marriage, children, moving in together, he makes a distasteful and concerning joke about not wanting to pay rent and would rather stay with his parents, which is not an option for me. Not at all.
Keeps getting worse. Just keeps getting worse.
He also perseverates.
Oh dear.
He also perseverates on his financial strain quite often.
Perseverates?
Do you know what that means?
Perseveres?
Perseverates.
I think she may mean perseveres, or I'm dumb and I don't know what perseverate.
I've never heard the word perseverate, but
Does
now...
she mean persevere?
No, we're going to look it up. Perseverate.
If she meant persevere and she said perseverate, this question's
Perseverate
over.
is a verb. To repeat or prolong an action, thought, or utterance.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it must have roots in persevere.
To perseverate is to repeat something, such as words or actions over and over again.
So what's the difference between persevere
Anonymous.
yeah, I mean, bravo. That's bravo.
Yes.
But persevere and perseverate, what's the difference?
Persevere is different. Persevere
is continue to like...
No, but persevere is like you're going to persevere despite...
So this is like more about repeating rather than
hurdles.
just pushing through. Perseverate. That might be the winner so far, vocabulary winner of Dear Shandy.
I mean, I just learned a new word. We both just learned a new word.
Yeah. Oof.
Anonymous. I think that's a Shandy first.
Yeah, that's big. There should be like some confetti happening here.
It's like the Dear Shandy Newlyweds game. It'll come down like, yay!
Or we've been waiting for this moment. There's like, okay, balloons and everything.
And now we're going to start getting lots of emails with like obnoxiously long and complicated
no, this is
words.
it. The contest is over. No more good vocabulary.
She's the winner of the contest that no one knew we had.
Yeah, and it's over. She's the champion and there will never be another.
He also perseverates on his financial strain quite often. I'm not sure if it is a joke or if there's truth to his humor. When I mentioned my reproductive clock, he also does not meet that conversation with any seriousness and deflects with humor. This leads me to my question.
I have an answer before a question.
Okay, do you want to wait for the question?
Done.
It's over. Yeah.
Done.
This is bad.
I don't want to hear a question. Doesn't matter.
Are you serious?
Done.
This is bad.
Bad.
This is really bad.
There's a lot. There's too much to unpack.
It's every single thing.
There's not a single thing here other than the fact that he's nice.
Other than the fact that he gets her gifts just because, despite perseverating on his financial strain.
The fact that he perseverates about anything annoys me.
He can be supportive and sensitive, but she didn't write he is supportive and sensitive. Opposing political views to the point where she avoids those topics.
That alone might be a deal breaker.
Yeah.
I kind of want to know which side which one is on, but I don't. We don't need to.
I think I know what side the person who uses the word perseverate is on.
I think you're probably right. Oh, wow. That was nice. Nice, subtle there. Nice.
It's true.
Yeah.
We're making that assumption, but I feel quite confident in it.
Okay. What's the question? I'm just curious.
So you think this is donezo, like ended
I don't
now.
care what, done. Done.
Okay, the questions. I have spent 2 years with this man, no changes in his job prospects, but constantly talks about changing jobs and always meets my serious requests, i.e. living arrangements, marriage, children, with humor. Am I wasting my time here?
That's the question?
There's another one. Also, the moral and political differences we have that lead to many arguments as per above. Is this a deal breaker?
Every single point she has made has been a deal breaker.
How do you both feel about a man that doesn't say I love you after 2
deal
years?
Deal breaker. Everything's a deal breaker.
Anonymous,
I can't believe that she's still in this for 2 years. I don't understand. I don't get it.
I feel like we're getting a hint as to why she says I've dated really poor quality men that weren't worthy of my time, and she's always been in unhealthy relationships. She says that she'd made the choice to stop this pattern and choose wisely. Just because this guy treats you well some or most of the time does not make up for all of these other issues.
If unless there are things about her that are lacking tremendously that she hasn't revealed,
which is possible.
It's possible. This is a deal breaker. If she is an absolute terror in many ways that she hasn't revealed, then maybe it's worth, keeping this guy around.
Absolute terror.
I mean, a terror, like the worst person ever. Like, yeah, then sure, keep this guy around. You probably won't do better. But if she's what she described, which is a very successful, intelligent, financially independent, decently attractive woman, what the hell is she doing?
I really think that women in her age range, she said late 30s, need to be accountable for their own timelines. I hate that he responds to her wanting to talk about kids moving in together, just progressing that timeline of their relationship with jokes.
Yeah.
He's not taking her seriously.
You know what he is? He's like, this guy is like the Benjamin Buttons of everything except the way you look. Like he's Benjamin buttoning his life.
His life.
As opposed to his actual body. It's not good.
But yeah, I do think women need to be responsible for their own timelines. You can't, as much as it angers me when men string along women in that age range particularly,
yes.
It really offends me. Like it grinds my gears. Like when I see it happening with friends of ours, I'm like...
So it's existentially selfish.
Yeah, it makes me so angry. But ultimately, she's the one allowing herself to be strung along.
Yes.
If what you want, Anonymous, is marriage, kids, cohabitation, a partner who pulls his weight financially,
and is your equal, in other ways.
Who's your equal in all the ways.
And not just decently attractive. That's the only thing that seems to be the same between them, is that they're decently attractive.
Yeah, and he seems to be supportive and sensitive.
Okay.
Which...
I mean,
great. I'm sorry. Supportive and sensitive, I should hope, are bare minimum.
Bare minimums. Why else would you be in a relationship with somebody?
Anonymous.
Oh man, get your act together. Get out of this.
Yeah,
this is done.
You wrote in looking for a kick in the pants, so you are getting one.
This gets the kick in the pants seal of approval. Yeah. Or is it a brand? It's a brand. And then I put it in water. Nice.
Anonymous. I'm pretty hesitant to tell people to end relationships on this podcast.
Yeah, I'm usually the guy doing that. When you do it, it's
when
bad.
I do it, it's bad.
Yeah.
And it's possible you are giving us a very one-sided email, and maybe there are things about him that are really redeeming.
Basically, look in the mirror, and if you're not Cruella de Vil, end this relationship.
All right. Are we telling Anonymous to break up with her boyfriend?
Was that not clear?
Okay. It seems like it always seems extreme to me when we tell someone to end their relationship.
She doesn't have to do anything. Okay. I'm just trying to help her. I don't want this guy to be broken up with. I feel bad, but someone has to be saved here.
Yeah.
And she is the one who needs to be saved.
Yeah, and she's late 30s. There is plenty to be lived here.
Yeah, and the late 30s now are like the mid 20s 50 years ago.
Yeah. Anonymous, you still have, you can easily find someone else to invest your time and energy into that you will see better returns on your investment with someone you've been with for 2 months.
Yeah.
Versus 2 years with this guy.
Or just, if you really hate yourself, freeze your eggs and just deal with this guy for the next 5 years. Terrible call.
That's the worst. Yeah, don't even offer that as
that was a joke. That was a joke.
Advice. I know, but don't even offer it as a joke.
But that happens. People do this. Sometimes they don't freeze their eggs, and then they're just stuck with the guy who lives with his parents.
That does happen.
Anyway,
don't let that happen, Anonymous. Right.
Or tell him that I don't want to pay rent anymore. I'm moving in with you and your parents. I expect you to cover my way. What
I find interesting is that he hasn't moved in with her yet.
Oh, it's another red flag. It's like a red flag within a red flag.
She says very successful and financially secure. It sounds like she could easily
totally
cover his living.
Yeah, why he doesn't even want to live with her. You know what this relationship? If this relationship was a country, it would be a red flag, and then inside the red flag would be another red flag, and then another one, and for infinity. It would just be like when you look in two double-way mirrors. It would just be endless red flag going into a point. This is horrible. Just done. Next question.
I'm sorry, Anonymous. Good luck.
Ugh. It's horrible. It was the worst. It was like a joke. It sounded like a joke. It sounded like she was. It literally sounded like it was a rom-com, and someone was writing an email into a podcast in a movie. That didn't sound real.
It sounded like a caricature of an email of a horrible relationship that the people giving advice would tell you to end. Right.
It's like the beginning of a bad, that was really well said. That you perseverated or perseverated. What the hell was that word? Perseverated. I
still don't have it.
Perseverated. Now I got it.
Perseverated.
You're press-fissilated very well there. No, but the thing I'm wondering is if she was literally just punking us with that email. Like, honestly, I'm not sure that was real.
Do you think that we're starting to get emails that are testing us?
Yeah, just a joke. Like, she was like, watch, I'm going to write this. This is like the worst like, I'm going to hit every single thing that's bad in a relationship.
And if they don't tell this person, this pretend person, to end the relationship, then we don't trust their advice. It's like an audit.
It's like we were just audited.
We were just audited with that question.
And we passed.
I think we passed.
Yeah, I mean, clearly.
All right.
Okay. Nice try.
This next question is from Sarah. The title is, Do I Give Them a Chance?
No.
Dear Shandy, if I match with someone on a dating app and they meet everything I would like in someone based on their profile, but the chat isn't great, should I still give them a chance and hope they will be better in person?
Yes.
Yep. Is that it? Shall we move on?
Yep. Done.
This next question is from...
Anonymous.
No.
Oh.
Natalie.
Ooh, that's the opposite of anonymous. It's the most namey name.
No, I think the most namey name is a very specific and rare name, and they still use it.
Oh, right.
You know, like a name that no one else has.
With like an apostrophe in it somewhere?
Yeah. It's a very rare name. No one else has that name, and they still didn't go with anonymous. Natalie, as lovely a name as it is.
It could be a fake name.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Dear Shandy, I am a woman in my early 30s, and I've been dating, she uses quotes for this, a guy.
So you're not dating? So you're making believe you're dating?
I'm just trying to read the email as written.
Okay, go ahead.
She says, dating a guy, same age,
for
a very short period of time. Should be put very in all caps. We live in Southern California. We matched on a dating app just over 2 weeks ago, and after 9 days of chatting all day, every day, we met up for our first date. It was great. We thought we would just go for a short walk, but 5 hours later, we were still walking around empty stores downtown, and finally our hunger made us part ways. Oh, that's sweet. I love dates like that.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot.
Would you say we perseverate?
We've perseverated in the past.
I'm just going to start using that word endlessly, even when it doesn't make sense.
That's what should be done. I agree with you.
We were very attracted to each other, and the date exceeded both our expectations. Yay, thank you, universe. We went out on our second date 5 days later. I went to this place, and we played video games all day and watched TV and a movie. We laughed the entire time and had lots in common to talk about. We also had sex twice, which I had not planned on happening, but it unfolded organically, and it seemed like both of us wanted to.
You know what's funny?
What?
When she said we had lots, I thought she was going to say sex, and I was like, no, it's too early for her to say that in a Dear Shandy email. And then like the next thing she said was, yeah, we had a lot of sex too. Like, oh, okay.
And it made you like her more.
Yes. And I think so far so good. This sounds great.
It unfolded organically, and it seemed like both of us wanted to. After an 11-hour date, I left that evening. What?
I thought it was going to be an 11-hour orgasm. I don't know why I'm just suddenly feeling like there's something dirty about this.
You should temper your expectations for the sentence that follows. I don't think she's going to say it's an 11-hour orgasm.
That's true. Okay, go ahead.
After an 11-hour date, I left that evening. When texting that night, I noticed that his replies were fairly short. So I asked, I hope this isn't weird to say, but is everything okay?
Uh-oh. If you ever asked that, it's not.
Your short texts are making me wonder.
Oh, dear.
See screenshots attached, including my cringeworthy joke of "Okay, no more sex" that I quickly tried to rectify.
No.
Oh my god. Okay.
I mean, it's okay. It's not that bad.
Oh, I don't think it's deal breaking. It's just one of those things that you're like, I wish I could.
She was joking though. It's a joke.
Unsend.
Yeah, it's not a great thing.
Anyway, we agreed to take things slow, and now it's only been 3 days since our second date. I know, not very long at all, but my anxiety is sitting here killing me slowly. We still text every day, but he is not flirty whatsoever, although he still texts good morning and reaches out again midday or at night. He still sounds like himself, though, not stiff, and responds within minutes. It kind of feels like when you text someone that you're established with and don't flirt with as much as before, except he's not flirting at all. Right now, I don't dare be too flirty in case that scares him off. What are your thoughts so far at the halfway mark?
So I have a question, which obviously I can't ask when she's not here. But my question would be, were his texts like very effusive and elaborate before they had sex?
I feel like they must have been at least somewhat, because she said that they texted all day, every day.
Yeah, they must have been. Okay, so go ahead. That's clear. That's apparent. Go ahead.
We have/had a great connection, which has been impossible, all caps, to find. And I don't want a too quick second date to end whatever we have before we give it a fair shot. I also recognize that I can't rush his feelings along, and that it is his prerogative to be part of something at a pace which works for him. Okay, here's the question. I decided to hang back and let him take the reins.
Smart move.
Yep. We both planned and agreed on our first and second dates, so I figure he'll suggest our third when he's had time to process what he feels. I don't understand why he suddenly needs all these... Did he not have sex with her too?
Yeah.
I don't understand, like, too soon. What is this? He had sex with her. Is he now has to process his feelings? Why is he suddenly the one that needs to be like,
oh no, he doesn't need to be
gloves?
Coddled. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
It
sounds like she assaulted him or something. He had sex with her.
No, I think I know what happened.
Oh, do you want to say it?
It's not that necessarily bad, but I think it's a dynamic that I know I've experienced to some degree.
What is it?
Are you done with the question?
No, but I want you to say it. I want you to say it while it's fresh.
Sometimes guys will put a lot of energy into bedding a girl. And
you think he lost interest?
No. I'm not saying he lost interest, which he may have, but I don't think he did. And I'll tell you why. But I think a lot of guys put really a huge amount of effort in. And when they get the sex, they're like, okay, I did that. I'm in. I can really tone it down now. I can just be like, oh yeah, hey, what's up? Okay, and they become very like less effort, less perseverating of texts. Does that make sense? So what I think happened here, if I had to guess, yes, it's not cool, but it's a dynamic that does happen. And to be honest with you, it's not a great sign, but it's not necessarily a deal-breaking sign. It might just be the way he is. Like he's like, once he got the sex, he's like, okay, let's settle in to a sort of a post-sex relationship. Let
me finish the email. Now that I hear you perseverating, I feel like I'd rather get it down to something more concise. Yeah. So she let him take the reins. She figures he'll suggest the third date when he's had time to process what he feels. I wanted your take on this. Is that the most helpful thing to do? A friend of mine says seeing him sooner rather than later, so he remembers the chemistry we have in person, would be good. I don't want to ask him before he's ready. I don't understand why he's suddenly so like finicky. What should I do? Help. I'm just being myself and doing the mildest flirting, whatever the texting equivalent of grazing a wrist. That's cute. And hoping he doesn't forget the feeling of our first and second dates. Second question. I'm pretty sure when he referred to things moving fast that he meant sex. So I'll give a sort of Cole's notes of the texts. She says goodnight, he says goodnight, and then she says, I hope this isn't weird to say, but is everything okay? Your short texts are making me wonder. He says, everything's okay, I just didn't expect things to move so fast, LOL, no punctuation.
Weak. What do you mean he didn't expect things to move so fast?
I hate that. It puts it on her.
Yeah, like
you just got on my penis. I had no control.
I feel like it's like very nuanced slut shaming.
Yeah.
And it's the second date. It's not like they literally met in a grocery store and had sex in the aisle. Like, what's the big deal?
Okay. He says, everything's okay. I just didn't expect things to move so fast, LOL. She writes, yeah, I kind of know what you mean. I didn't plan on it. We can take it slower. Sorry, didn't mean to rush you or anything.
Oh, she shouldn't say sorry. Shouldn't have said sorry.
He said, it's all good.
Oh, it's not all good.
Well, I hate it's all good suggests that she was correct in apologizing.
This. How old are they?
Early 30s. Older than you'd think.
That's older than I would think. I was like thinking early 20s.
Yeah, same.
Early mid 20s. It's all good.
Okay.
It's all good. Oh, thanks.
He says it's all it's all good. Just caught me off guard, LOL.
Caught him off guard.
And then he wrote slow is good, which she hearted. And then she joked, okay, no more sex. And that's the thing that she said. She cringed
And
about.
what did he say?
She says, I don't know. That sounded like a threat. Ugh, let's just take it slow and check in with each other. And he liked the I don't know that sounded like a threat text and wrote, ha ha, I like that. Sounds good. Again, no punctuation. She said, okay, let's do that. Okay, good night, round 2. And he said, sweet dreams.
Okay, so.
And by the way, she said good morning next. I just want to say that.
Okay. So this
Not
is,
him.
This is,
she was the next to reach out. I have to say that.
This is what I will say. Number one.
I don't like this guy at all.
I don't like him. Number one, and I like her.
She seems lovely. She's being completely slut-shamed right now.
Yeah, in the most
He's acting like
way.
she assaulted him and that he somehow his own dick didn't need to be hard and that this was not a mutually consensual and physical exchange.
It's bizarre. 2 things. One is she should never text him again for the rest of her life until he texts her. That's 100%. I refuse any other actions.
Okay.
I'm sure of that.
So you think this is over?
No, I'm not saying it's over. 2 things. 2 things.
Good job.
2 fingers. Number 1, her job is done. No more texts. And I'm not saying no more texts like no more in-depth text. I'm saying nothing. The phone and him no exist. One way. He texts her. No more text to him until she gets a response from him. And I don't mean a response. Until she hears something from his radio, nothing.
Something from his radio. What's number 2?
That's the most important thing she can do right now. And it's mandatory. It's not an option. No more texts. No good morning. No hey, what's up? No sup. Nothing. 0.
Got that, Natalie?
Number 2 is, this is a little more nuanced. Some guys, and this isn't condoning his behavior. This isn't necessarily a positive. This is just an explanation. Some guys put a lot of effort into the flirting pre-sex process. A lot. Like they're just like, it's like they're writing poems and novels and all sorts of jokes and everything. And then once they get the sex, then they're like, okay, now I'm going to settle into this kind of like more like, hey, what's going on? You know, casual kind of, not much effort in the texting. And that's lame, but that's the way life is sometimes.
So what I actually got from this, and I know that I don't know as well as you in this department, but I actually got more that he wasn't that into the sex.
So I'm reserving the full body slam on this because I feel like, again, there's possible daylight somewhere here, possibly.
Okay.
But I agree with you. I don't want to say that. I hate saying that. It feels bad to say that. But certainly,
I'm sure that
it
has
wasn't
happened
the
to
best sex he's ever had in his life.
Yeah.
That I can guarantee.
Yeah.
Or even in the top
What do you think?
10%.
What do you think the odds are that this was actually too fast for him? Again, early 30s.
I mean, anything that doesn't feel right is too fast, right? So I think too fast is the wrong way to look at it. I think he just like realized he wasn't that into it.
Well, and that's what bothers me is by sort of saying it's too fast, he's putting it on her. It reminds me of my season of The Bachelor where Juan Pablo went frolicking with Claire in the ocean and then they made out and who knows what else. And then next time he saw her, he was like, that was wrong. Like, we shouldn't have done that. And he kind of like put it on her, like made it sound like she had like dragged him out there with ropes and chains to frolic in the ocean together. It's like, it takes two to tango. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Take responsibility. He's putting it on her. It's her fault that they had sex, as though he had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. He just by accident tripped and fell into her apartment and then suddenly was playing video games for 10 hours and having sex with her. Just like, it's like an accident.
Oh yeah, and his dick also tripped and fell into her vagina.
Yeah, this happens. It happens. It's been known to happen. So, no text.
And his dick, by the way, had to be hard to fall in her vagina. Also that, just want to say.
Well, that does create an issue. My gut is that this is over.
Oh my God, I didn't even get to the end of the email.
Oh my God.
Do you want me to just read the very end?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm pretty sure when he referred to things moving fast that he meant sex, but my friend thinks it might mean that his feelings were developing too fast. I just don't think guys talk like that. What do you think?
I hope for his sake that it was his feelings and not the sex. The sex is just shameful. Like he's somehow making her feel bad about the sex. It's absurd.
This is bullshit. His feelings or the sex of it, either way, no, those are not viable.
When you meet someone that you really like,
yes.
I want, like when I met you, like I wanted it to move even faster. Unless you're like 19 and you want to like enjoy your life and not suddenly be married, you don't, in your early 30s, you don't want things to not move fast if you meet someone you really head over heels for. I think he's already made it clear that he doesn't deserve your responses with his actions. Moving too fast after 2 dates.
That, by the way, one was 5 hours and the other one was 11 hours.
Yeah. No. Wrong. Stop texting the guy. Let him make the next move. And you decide, based on his next move, if you really want to deal with this guy who suddenly seems not that excited about you.
Let me just finish the email.
Oh, it keeps going.
For some other context, he says he is normally very shy around girls, which is what I noticed on our first date. So I think that our second date was probably the fastest both of us have ever moved in a new relationship before. We've both dated other people seriously in the past. I listened to your earlier episode about whether or not it was possible to have sex too early and totally agree with what you guys said. I have no regrets about having had sex because it felt right and mutually desired / satisfying at the time. In my texts, I wish I hadn't said sorry. Just, I didn't mean to rush you or anything, would have sufficed. I only wish I would have known that it felt too soon for him, which again is on him. He can say no.
Yeah.
But I guess dating mind readers haven't been invented yet. Other context, he works in tech and I'm a researcher.
God, all these guys work in tech. Say what you want about tradition, but the one tradition of all of them that needs to stay intact is the man must lead in the early stages of the relationship. And that's not to say the woman just sits there and waits like, I hope he calls me. I hope he calls me. No, if he doesn't call you, you have your answer. Call, I mean text now, whatever. If he doesn't communicate with you in the proper way, you have your answer. You have the easier job. You don't have to do anything. You just receive.
You say that, but sometimes waiting and being passive is far harder.
You're right. It can be very,
depending on
it can be very stressful, but if you put in the good work and you made a good impression and he likes you, you're just being yourself, then you've done your job. It's his job to lead after that. And I'm not saying it's his job to lead for the next 10 years. I'm saying in the very early stages of a relationship, the last thing he should be doing is forcing you into a position of insecurity and suggesting you're moving too fast after 2 dates. Come on. If you're moving too fast, then end it. Bye. Okay, good. I'm going to move faster or slower with somebody else. Have a fun time thinking that.
You know what bothers me the most? First, definitely the text that says, I just didn't expect things to move so fast, which immediately puts her on the defensive. It makes her insecure. He's like eschewing responsibility.
It's like a power trip. It's like a very inappropriate power trip.
And then
power play.
What bothers me the most is her, when she said sorry, which she admits she wished she hadn't said.
Yeah, she shouldn't have said
that. Him saying it's all good.
But that's the worst thing of the whole thing.
That's the worst part of this entire question. Had he said, you shouldn't apologize, or like, oh no, of course, like I also, like I did it too, like.
I would have been like, oh, stop it. What are you doing?
Yeah, what are you,
You're
yeah,
not
what are
sorry.
you,
Like,
yeah.
come on.
It's all good. Just
it's
caught me
good.
Off guard, LOL.
Meaning like, don't worry. The fact that you flagrantly had sex with me too early It's good. Don't worry about it. It's not your fault. It's okay. I mean, no, he's saying it is your fault.
Yes.
He's saying, I forgive you. He's forgiving
that's
her.
That's what I'm saying. That it's all good suggests that she was right to apologize.
Yeah, he's forgiving her. It's all good is the modern parlance for...
Of no worries.
Yeah.
Don't worry about
apology accepted. Yeah.
It's okay. It's all good.
Okay. You screwed up, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's all good. Don't worry about it.
It's all good. No punctuation.
Don't worry about having sex with me on the second date with my hard dick.
Yeah. How do you know it was that hard?
He had to have been hard enough to have sex twice during an 11-hour date.
Yeah, it was probably hard enough.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay.
He's a limp dick in every other way. Anyway, I reiterate, no texts, never again.
Is this realistic advice though? She says that, it sounds like she's most excited about this out of anything. This is an impossible kind of connection.
Then you want to preserve it? No texts. That's the only way this is going to work. Disappear. Make yourself unavailable. Make it seem like you're over it. Let him pursue now because he's already committed a great violation of early relationships. He's made you feel bad for sleeping with him.
He's
a monster.
Don't you find that manipulative? It's everything.
Let's move on. I'm very angry.
Okay.
I'm angry now.
Natalie,
I'm angry about 2 questions. Very rare. I'm very heated.
Yeah. For this one though, Natalie, I feel like it's even tough for us to give advice because we gather you want to salvage this, but we don't think this should be salvaged.
She should never have been put in a position where she was sending these sort of insecure texts.
The position that you have been put in where you are sending this email to us and like doubting yourself and even questioning how you should handle this moving forward is a position he put you in.
Yes.
It's not because you did something wrong.
He's committed. It's all good for him. You should say it's all good.
Yes.
If you so choose. Not him saying to you it's all good.
Okay, we don't like this guy. Natalie, you can do what you want, but we don't think you should.
Do what you want. I think it's probably not going to work out, but the only choice you have is to be silent and wait for him. Done.
All right, I think that's it for this Q&A session.
Another wrap.
Another
2 relationships broken up. We should check it off. No, it's not funny.
You shouldn't laugh at that.
But you know what? It is something to celebrate because every relationship that ends, because it should end, should be a celebration.
Well, it's like when someone gets divorced, you should say congratulations.
Yeah, but at least in divorce, you're going through a hell and possibly losing a lot of money and kids. Here, it's just you're nothing. What maybe you left a sweatshirt at the person's house? You should celebrate even more when you break up a bad relationship than when you break up a marriage.
Well, and yes, and in this case, the one of those were with Natalie. It's not even really a relationship yet. They're dating. It's just been 2 days.
As she said, now I realize why there were quotes around dating because they aren't really dating, but they kind of were. Yeah.
I think there are a lot of red flags as to how he handled that and made her feel. So I just don't know why she'd want to date him anyway. And then with Anonymous, that was definitely the most heated question of the day. She knows. When she wrote that email,
that was like a mea culpa. She was just like, "I'm just writing this. This is like I'm writing my heart. I know the truth." She just wanted to put it on paper.
Yeah, she wanted to hear it echoed back, and I think we did that. If you guys liked what you heard today and you want to support Dear Shandy and keep us growing, you know what you can do. You can like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave comments. You leave an iTunes review, tell your friends, and all the things you would do to support a little podcast like ours. Mm-hmm. One that is recorded in Studio, what was it?
Studio 6A. This is where we do this.
The living room designed studio. It's meant to look like a home.
Yeah, it looks almost like our home.
Yeah, it looks like a New York City apartment living room. Very well done. And on that note, we'll see you guys next time on Dear Shandy. Bye. Dear Shandy.